Welcome back to Eject Media. When it comes to Halloween, horror fans usually think of one franchise first. Michael Myers has been carving his way across the holiday for decades, and those movies have been talked about plenty. But Halloween on screen has always been bigger than just one series. This list is for anyone who wants to dig deeper into the season. The overlooked slashers, haunted house oddities, TV specials, and cult favorites that still bring the costumes, pumpkins, and scares in their own strange ways. Night of the Demons, 1988. On Halloween night, a group of teens gathers at Hull House, an abandoned funeral parlor with a sinister past. What begins as a rowdy party quickly descends into hell when a seance unleashes a demonic force. One by one, the guests are possessed, turning on each other in a night of blood, gore, and twisted revelry. Directed by Kevin Tenney, Night of the Demons is a perfect slice of late 80s horror excess. Kathy Podewell stars as Judy, the final girl trying to survive, while Amelia Kincaid steals the show as Angela, whose transformation into a snarling, dancing demon became instantly iconic. Linnea Quigley also leaves her mark with one of the most outrageous and memorable set pieces in VHS-era horror. The film thrives on Halloween atmosphere, flickering jack-o'-lanterns, fog-draped cemeteries, and costumes that turn deadly. Practical effects provide gory kills and grotesque demonic makeups, creating a blend of camp and terror that feels like a carnival ride gone wrong. Though it wasn't a theatrical hit, Night of the Demons became a home video staple, passed around for its outrageous set pieces and unapologetic energy. Today it stands as one of the ultimate Halloween horror films, wild, gory, and dripping with seasonal spirit. Jack-o'-lantern, 1988. Halloween night becomes a family affair in Jack-o'-lantern, a strange mix of satanic panic, slasher, and surreal dream sequences. At the center is Tommy, a young man groomed by his grandfather, played with devilish glee by High Pike, to follow in the family tradition of dark rituals and blood sacrifice. As the town prepares for Halloween festivities, a hooded killer stalks the streets, and it's never clear if the evil comes from the cult, the family, or something even darker. Directed by Jag Mundra, the film captures the wild, low-budget energy of late 80s horror. The kills are delivered with gusto, ranging from electrocution to pitchfork impalements, all wrapped in pumpkins, masks, and firelit ceremonies. Adding to its offbeat charm are bizarre fantasy interludes, including a heavy metal music video sequence that feels ripped straight from a fever dream. The performances lean into camp, with Pike's over-the-top delivery standing out as both unsettling and oddly endearing. What the film lacks in polish, it makes up for in atmosphere. Small-town cemeteries, backroad cult gatherings, and the constant promise that something unholy is lurking nearby. While it never hit mainstream shelves like bigger Halloween-themed slashers, Jack-o'-lantern has carved out cult status for its mix of satanic horror, slasher chaos, and unintentional comedy. It's the kind of movie best discovered late at night, when the line between scary and strange doesn't really matter. Scary Movie, 1991. On Halloween night, a nervous young man named Warren is pressured into visiting a local haunted house attraction. What should be harmless fun turns into something far more unsettling when the horrors inside begin to feel all too real. Is it just Warren's imagination spiraling out of control, or is something sinister waiting for him among the cobwebs and shadows? Written and directed by Daniel Erickson, Scary Movie is a quirky, low-budget oddity that blurs the line between horror and comedy. John Hawkes, in one of his earliest roles before becoming a respected character actor, plays Warren with equal parts awkward charm and mounting paranoia. His performance anchors the film, making it as much about his psychological unraveling as the haunted house itself. The film thrives on its atmosphere of uncertainty. Flickering lights, exaggerated props, and rubber masks combine with Warren's anxious perspective to create a dreamlike, sometimes surreal experience. It's less about body counts and gore, and more about capturing the unease of not knowing what's real, especially when fear takes over. Though overshadowed by flashier horror releases of the early 90s, Scary Movie has earned cult admiration for its odd tone and the unique way it plays with haunted house tropes. It's an offbeat snapshot of regional filmmaking. Funny, strange, and just unsettling enough to linger after the credits roll. Trick or Treat, 1986. High school outcast Eddie Weinbauer lives for heavy metal. Bullied at school and misunderstood at home, his only solace is the music of his idol, rock star Sammy Kerr. But when Sammy dies in a mysterious accident, Eddie's grief turns to obsession, especially after he discovers a rare demo record that lets him communicate with his fallen hero. What begins as a fan's dream soon twists into a nightmare as Sammy returns from beyond the grave with a thirst for vengeance. Directed by Charles Martin Smith, Trick or Treat fuses horror with heavy metal culture at the height of the 80s satanic panic. Mark Price stars as Eddie, channeling both teenage angst and awe, while Tony Fields brings electric menace to the role of Sammy Kerr. The supporting cast features familiar faces like Glenn Morgan and Doug Savant, while Ozzy Osbourne and Gene Simmons pop up in memorable cameos that cement the film's rock credentials. The movie is filled with flashy effects and concert-style spectacle, turning Sammy into a supernatural slasher whose stage presence doubles as his weapon. Electricity crackles, records spin backward, and the line between fandom and possession blurs as Eddie realizes he's unleashed something he can't control. On VHS, Trick or Treat became a favorite for both horror and metal fans. Its soundtrack and imagery feeding into the decade's obsession with music's supposed dark influence. Today it stands as a cult classic, part supernatural shocker, part rock and roll time capsule, and pure 80s excess from start to finish. Night of the Demons 2, 1994. Angela's back, and this time the evil doesn't stay locked inside Hull House. Night of the Demons 2 picks up with Angela, still possessed and deadlier than ever, lying in wait for a new group of unsuspecting teens. When students from a strict Catholic school throw their own Halloween party, their night of fun turns into a blood-soaked showdown as Angela crashes the event and brings hell with her. Directed by Brian Trenchard Smith, the sequel ups the ante in every way. Bigger effects, more elaborate kills, and a broader sense of humor. Amelia Kincaid returns as Angela, once again commanding the screen as one of horror's most flamboyant villains. The young cast, including Christy Harris and Bobby Jacoby, gives the movie a 90s teen horror vibe, with their clashes against Angela ranging from funny to grotesque. What really stands out are the practical effects: melting flesh, wild transformations, and plenty of over-the-top gore that leans into camp while still delivering shocks. The Catholic school setting also adds a fun contrast with sacred symbols and strict authority figures, no match for Angela's demonic tricks. While it didn't have the same cult reach as the original, Night of the Demons 2 became a video rental favorite, proving there was still plenty of mileage in Angela's wicked grin and Halloween chaos. For many fans, it's one of those rare sequels that lives up to the outrageous energy of the first. HauntedWeen, 1991. Some horror films wear their Halloween spirit proudly, and HauntedWeen does just that. With blood, masks, and small-town mayhem. The story begins with a childhood tragedy. A boy sneaks into a haunted house attraction and causes a girl's death. Years later, grown-up Eddie returns home with revenge on his mind, turning another haunted house into the stage for his sadistic killing spree. Directed by Doug Robertson, the film leans into its regional, low-budget roots. Much of the cast is made up of local talent, which only adds to the charm, giving it the feel of a community project gone wildly off the rails. The kills are surprisingly creative for the budget, blending the atmosphere of carnival horror with a grim sense of payback. The haunted attraction setting is the star. Fog machines, strobe lights, rubber props, and fake blood mixed with the real thing as Eddie dispatches partygoers one by one. It's the kind of location horror thrives on, turning a place meant for cheap scares into a stage for genuine terror. While it never came close to mainstream recognition, HauntedWeen built a reputation on VHS as one of those "what did I just watch" oddities. It's scrappy, gory, and fully committed to delivering Halloween thrills the only way regional horror knows how, with heart, grit, and buckets of fake blood. Idle Hands, 1999. High school slacker Anton is about as lazy as they come, until his right hand develops a mind of its own. Possessed by a demonic force, it drags him into a wave of murder and mayhem, leaving his friends and family in pieces. With Halloween as the backdrop, Anton and his undead buddies must find a way to stop the evil appendage before it drags them all straight to hell. Directed by Rodman Flender, Idle Hands mixes stoner comedy with supernatural horror, delivering a strange hybrid that's equal parts gory and goofy. Devon Sawa leads as Anton, with Seth Green and Eldon Henson stealing scenes as his best friends turned wisecracking zombies. Jessica Alba appears in one of her earliest roles, adding some teen movie heartthrob energy as Anton's love interest. The film doesn't hold back on splatter, offering decapitations, dismemberments, and a possessed hand that crawls across the screen like a demented cousin of Evil Dead 2's famous gag. The suburban setting, Halloween atmosphere, and tongue-in-cheek tone make it feel like a late 90s time capsule, filled with music, slang, and style from the era. Though it flopped at the box office, Idle Hands became a cult favorite on home video, embraced for its offbeat humor, outrageous gore, and its willingness to lean fully into absurdity. It remains one of the last great horror comedies of the decade, gleefully irreverent and proudly weird. Jacko, 1995. On Halloween night, a centuries-old curse is unleashed when a vengeful spirit rises from the grave, taking the form of a monstrous scarecrow with a jack-o'-lantern for a head. Armed with a scythe, the creature known as Jacko stalks the small town of Oakmore Crossing, cutting down anyone unlucky enough to cross its path. Directed by Steve Latshaw, Jacko embraces its B-movie roots, delivering a mix of low-budget charm and seasonal atmosphere. The cast includes Linnea Quigley, who brings her trademark Scream Queen energy, while the rest of the ensemble leans into the campy material with earnest performances. The film thrives on Halloween imagery, pumpkin patches, trick-or-treaters, and foggy suburban yards, turning the holiday itself into the star. Jacko's design, with its glowing pumpkin head and looming figure, gives the monster a distinct identity, even when the effects reveal the limitations of the budget. While critics dismissed it as cheap and uneven, Jacko found a second life on VHS and late-night television, where its blend of goofy scares and genuine seasonal spirit earned it cult status. It's far from polished, but it captures the kind of scrappy DIY horror that made the 90s video era fun for fans willing to dig a little deeper. Hell Night, 1981. College hazing takes a deadly turn when four pledges are locked inside Garth Manor for an all-night initiation. The sprawling Victorian estate comes with quite a history. 12 years ago, the owner killed his deformed children before taking his own life. But as our unfortunate students discover, some family reunions never truly end. What separates Hell Night from standard slasher fare is its gothic atmosphere and production design. Trading typical teen hangouts for a genuine gothic mansion gives the film a classic horror feel. The setting is a character itself, all creeping vines, secret passages, and candlelit corridors that would make Vincent Price feel at home. The film takes its time establishing the layout, making the house's geography a crucial part of the survival game. Linda Blair leads the cast as Marty, bringing her horror pedigree to a final girl role that requires more than just screaming. Her character's mechanical knowledge becomes a vital survival skill, while her practical approach to the situation helps ground the supernatural elements. The other pledges aren't just standard victim fodder either. Each gets enough development to make their fate matter. The killers themselves offer a twist on slasher conventions. Instead of a single masked murderer, we get multiple deformed siblings who've been living in the mansion's underground tunnels. Their attacks feel more like a coordinated hunt than standard stalk and slash fare. The makeup effects strike a balance between horrific and tragic, reminding us these monsters were once someone's children. Director Tom DeSimone uses the pledge's awareness of the manor's history to play with expectations. Every creaking floorboard could be their fellow students pulling pranks or something far worse. The film maintains tension by keeping both the pledges and audience guessing about what's real threat and what's hazing ritual until it's too late. Hell Night proves that sometimes the scariest initiations are the ones where the urban legends turn out to be true, and the only way to survive is to face the family secrets buried beneath the floorboards. Night of the Demons 3, 1997. A group of teens on the run from the police takes shelter in Hull House, the same cursed funeral parlor where the evil first began. But what they don't realize is that Angela is waiting, ready to unleash her demons once again and drag anyone foolish enough inside straight to hell. Directed by Jim Kaufman, this third entry keeps Amelia Kincaid front and center, once again reprising her role as Angela. By this point, she had become a true horror icon, and the film leans heavily on her wicked charisma. The cast of teens, including Larry Day, Kristen Lee, and Joel Gordon, serve as fresh victims, their chaotic night escalating from a police chase to a demonic bloodbath. The film delivers plenty of 90s direct-to-video charm, practical gore effects, cheesy one-liners, and a grungier tone compared to its predecessors. Hull House itself remains a star, the boarded-up windows, candlelit hallways, and blood-stained walls turning the mansion into a haunted maze of death. While the third film never gained the cult status of the original or its sequel, it remains a fun continuation for fans who couldn't get enough of Angela's wicked smile. It's the kind of VHS-era sequel that may not break new ground, but still delivers exactly what the cover art promised: demons, gore, and Halloween night terror. Cemetery of Terror, 1985. On Halloween night, a group of medical students decide to break into an abandoned mansion and steal a corpse for a prank. Their idea of fun takes a gruesome turn when they unwittingly resurrect the body of a notorious serial killer. Soon the night spirals into chaos, as the killer rises from the grave and unleashes terror on anyone in his path, while an entire cemetery begins to stir with the dead. Directed by Ruben Galindo Jr., Cemetery of Terror is one of the standout Mexican horror films of the 1980s. Hugo Stiglitz stars as Dr. Carden, a psychiatrist who knows the truth about the killer and races to stop the carnage. The young cast of pranksters, along with a group of trick-or-treating kids caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, round out the doomed ensemble. The film leans heavily on atmosphere, with misty graveyards, shadowy mausoleums, and plenty of undead rising from the earth. The violence is grisly and relentless, blending slasher-style kills with zombie mayhem, while the Halloween setting ties it all together with an eerie seasonal backdrop. What makes Cemetery of Terror especially memorable is its ambition. It combines elements of slashers, zombie flicks, and supernatural horror into one chaotic package, delivering non-stop action once the dead begin to rise. Originally overlooked outside of Mexico, it gained a cult following on VHS, where horror fans discovered its mix of energy, gore, and Halloween spirit. Today it stands as a hidden gem of international horror that captures the wild, anything-goes spirit of mid-80s fright films. Lady in White, 1988. Set in a small town in the early 1960s, Lady in White follows young Frankie Scarlatti, who becomes locked inside his school cloakroom on Halloween night. There he witnesses the ghostly replay of a girl's murder, a crime tied to a string of child killings that have haunted the community for years. Soon Frankie finds himself pursued by both the murderer and the restless spirit of the Lady in White, as the line between the living and the dead grows increasingly blurred. Written and directed by Frank LaLoggia, the film mixes ghost story chills with coming-of-age nostalgia. Lucas Haas stars as Frankie, bringing innocence and vulnerability to the role, while Alex Rocco plays his protective father. The performances ground a story that balances supernatural mystery with real-world menace. The film is visually striking, using fog-draped cemeteries, candlelit houses, and eerie dream sequences to give it an almost storybook quality. The recurring image of the murdered girl's spirit, endlessly reliving her final moments, is one of the film's most haunting touches. Though it didn't break through in theaters, Lady in White earned a loyal following on video for its unique blend of innocence and dread. It's not just a ghost story, it's a meditation on memory, trauma, and the way childhood innocence collides with the darker corners of the adult world. The Midnight Hour, 1985. On Halloween night, a group of teens in a small New England town break into a museum and stumble upon an ancient curse. By reading aloud from a mysterious scroll, they unleash the spirits of witches, vampires, and zombies, turning their holiday into a night of real terror. What begins as mischief quickly becomes a desperate fight for survival, as the dead return to claim the living. Directed by Jack Bender, The Midnight Hour first aired as a made-for-TV movie, but its mix of horror and camp gave it a long afterlife on home video. Lee Montgomery stars as the reluctant hero, with Sherry Belafonte and LeVar Burton among the friends drawn into the chaos. Their performances bring both charm and tension to a story that shifts between lighthearted and genuinely eerie. The film embraces the Halloween spirit, filling its small-town setting with foggy graveyards, haunted houses, and festive costumes. The undead are played both for scares and spectacle, with practical effects that deliver surprisingly effective chills for a television production. A musical number even breaks out, cementing its place as one of the most eccentric entries in 80s horror. What makes The Midnight Hour stand out is its atmosphere. It captures the feeling of Halloween night, playful, spooky, and unpredictable, while leaning into a story that's equal parts campfire tale and creature feature. Once overlooked after its original broadcast, it became a VHS favorite for fans who discovered its quirky charm. Today, it's remembered as a cult gem of Halloween horror, a film that celebrates the season with both frights and fun. Hollow Gate, 1988. Holiday cheer takes a sinister turn in Hollow Gate, a little-seen slasher where a family celebration becomes a nightmare. The story begins at Thanksgiving, when young Mark witnesses his father snap under the pressure of a failed business and mounting debt. Years later, Mark has grown into a killer who disguises his psychosis beneath charm, only to unleash violence when guests arrive at the family estate. Directed by Ray DiZazzo, the film works as a strange hybrid of holiday horror and psychological slasher. Addison Randall stars as Mark, bringing a slick, almost soap opera quality to the role that makes his eventual outbursts even more jarring. The supporting cast fills out the doomed dinner party, with friendships and romances quickly cut short once Mark's rage erupts. What sets Hollow Gate apart is its focus on the breakdown of tradition. The sprawling house, once meant for family gatherings, becomes a death trap, with Mark using everyday objects, knives, tools, even holiday decorations, as instruments of murder. The kills aren't flashy, but the tension comes from the increasingly unhinged performance at the center. Though it slipped almost entirely under the radar on release, Hollow Gate lingers as one of those obscure VHS finds that horror fans stumble across while digging deep. It's not polished, but it carries that unmistakable late 80s energy. Cheap, mean, and just unsettling enough to stick with you. And there you have it. 14 films that prove Halloween horror doesn't begin and end with Michael Myers. From haunted attractions and demonic house parties to small-town legends and pumpkin-headed killers, these movies keep the holiday spirit alive in their own strange and unforgettable ways. They may not have had the biggest budgets, the best acting, or the widest releases, but they've stuck around thanks to rental shelves, late-night TV, and the fans who kept passing them along. That's what makes them worth revisiting. They're part of the reason Halloween horror feels so much bigger than just the usual suspects. For more VHS-era discoveries and cult favorites, visit us at ejectvhs.com. And remember, always be kind and rewind, because every movie is someone's favorite.